Hello and welcome to the Granite Spotlight, a short, focused conversational series where I highlight entrepreneurs, coaches, and creators who are building meaningful work and choosing their lives intentionally. I'm Sean Bradbury, life coach, speaker, and founder of Grounded in Granite. Today, I am joined by Dr. Kelly Kessler. Kelly is a doctor of physical therapy, nervous system educator, and host of the Rewiring Health podcast. Her work sits at the intersection of nervous system science and relational health, helping high achieving women understand the body patterns behind guilt, overgiving, and self abandonment so they can build the capacity to choose themselves without collapsing. I'm excited to have her today. I'm a big fan of her work. So, Kelly, let's start here. Please give us a brief version of your story and what led you to what you're building today.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you so much again for having me on. This is awesome what you're creating here. And so my story really started with a lot of personal loss, personal conflict, and really just opened me up to some of the patterns that I unconsciously was living with. And some of those patterns were that self-abandonment where I would try to meet everyone's expectations and completely leave myself behind. I would overgive, feeling like I need to always be there for people. I would take on the emotional burden of relationships and feeling like I needed to fix things. I always had these like this pressure to show up not only in relationships but show up at work and show up in everything I was doing to the highest caliber. And what I realized through some of these really challenging personal situations was that I was trying to feel safe and I was trying to feel like I was enough. And what I realized that I had outsourced my safety so that when the relationships were stable, then I could feel safe. And I felt like I had no other choice but to keep them steady. And what I realized that I didn't have any internal safety. I had nothing that grounded me into me. I didn't even really know myself in a way to answer the question, what do I want? Who am I? What is it that makes me feel joyful? Because I was so preoccupied with showing up with in the way that I felt like I should. And that really came to a head, like I said, when I had some of these really, really personal challenges in my life. And I was really met with that version and had to look at myself in the mirror and see like how I'm showing up in every situation and that I'm choosing something differently. And so when I chose myself, that's when I realized how destabilizing that is. And that's really where my work is anchored. And not only just choosing yourself, but navigating the destabilization after you do.
That's amazing. I can resonate so much with that. Kelly and I have had other conversations prior to this too, and I truly resonate with the fawning and everything that she just mentioned, and having that safety, giving out your safety, the whole survival mechanism. It's truly interesting. Thank you for being vulnerable and sharing that with us.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
who do you serve, and what problem do you help them solve?
Sure. Yeah. I serve mostly high achieving women who are aware that they need to make a change, but feel so stuck in the patterns that they're living with that they feel like it really is just a huge challenge. It feels so overwhelming. Like, how could I choose myself? How could I really allow myself to take my energy back? It feels just like there's a really stuck pattern that they're living in. And so I help them recognize how they're outsourcing their safety. I help them recognize the fawning patterns that they have lived with and the beliefs that they've held on to, feeling like they have to be responsible for everybody else. And once you get to that point of realization, that's usually when boundaries need to be formed so that you can protect your own energy. But the work where I really anchor into is that destabilization process, that the minute you set a boundary and you start making healthier choices for yourself, you start recognizing what you need in your life, there is going to be the aftermath of that. And that's really what I think is not talked about enough. We talk about boundaries, like everything will be great after we set boundaries, but there's a huge period between what you're experiencing now and the life that you desire. And it's that gap that I really help women navigate to get to that point. Because when you set boundaries, you'll notice there will be a lot of aftermath in relationships. You'll notice you'll have a lot of guilt in that. You'll feel like you have a lot of self-doubt. You're going to feel like you made a mistake. You're going to wonder if you are worthy of even taking care of yourself. And you're going to feel like you're being drawn back into the old way of being. And that's what I help women navigate, is getting to that point where they choose themselves and they get to choose themselves over and over again. And that's really where they anchor into self-loyalty.
That's amazing. It's the really the repetition, like you said, setting those boundaries. That's one thing that's great. But even in my own practice of setting my own boundaries, it still takes work to set those boundaries. I'm drawn back by the old habits of who I am and the people pleasing and stuff. That's amazing work that you're there trying to fill in the gap afterwards instead of just saying, hey, you built a boundary, now you're all set, go ahead.
Right. Yeah.
So in saying that, this is such important work. So where can people find you and what are you focused on right now?
Sure. Yeah. So people can find me at my website, drkellykessler.com. I also host the podcast Rewiring Health, so you can definitely check that out for a lot of free resources. And I have a self-loyalty mentorship program where I guide you. It's a 12-week program to help you move through that, especially if you're in that season where you want to choose yourself, you want to feel different, and you feel like you are really stuck in that, or if you're in the aftermath of actually choosing yourself. So that's where you can find me.
That's amazing. And we'll also drop some links in the comments below once this is dropped out so people can find you easily. So thank you so much, Kelly, for being here today. This information has really been incredible.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate all the work you're doing as well.
Well, I thank you. I appreciate that. So if this conversation resonated with you, feel free to reach out to Kelly or myself. You can also leave a comment or question below. And thank you for joining us today. The life you want is built one choice at a time. Take care.